The wanted notice for Mr. Zelensky suddenly disappeared from the website of the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs. Russia may have failed in the early stages of hostilities because of mistakes. Russia held a launching ceremony for 2 new warships. The wanted notice for Mr. Zelensky suddenly disappeared from the website of the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs. Media agency Mediazona reported that the wanted notice for President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky and former President of this country Petro Poroshenko suddenly disappeared from the website of the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs. This sparked speculation that the Russian side had withdrawn the arrest warrant against Mr. Zelensky. Previously, both Ukrainian officials were added to the wanted list by an agency under the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs in the area controlled by the country in Donetsk province. However, the wanted notices were only discovered by the media on May 4. A notice on the website of the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs said that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is wanted under an article of the Russian Criminal Code. However, this agency does not release information about criminal proceedings against Mr. Zelensky. Previously, Russia repeatedly accused Ukraine of using terrorist measures throughout the conflict. Last April, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov also said that Mr. Zelensky's threat to destroy Russia's civilian infrastructure was evidence of the Ukrainian government's terrorist intentions. One of the infrastructure mentioned by Mr. Peskov is the Crimea Bridge. This bridge was attacked by 2 major bombings, resulting in heavy damage as well as casualties to citizens living in the Crimean Peninsula. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has criticized Russia's decision to put Mr. Zelensky on the wanted list. The ministry believes that Russia's reports on the addition of President Volodymyr Zelensky to the Russian Interior Ministry's wanted list demonstrate the desperation of Russia's state and propaganda apparatus, which does not know what to come up with other to attract attention. We would like to remind everyone that, unlike Russia's worthless announcements, the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Russian leader Vladimir Putin for war crimes is real and enforceable. Carried out in 123 countries, Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs emphasized when discussing Russia's arrest warrants. Before President Zelensky, Russia also put many enemy officials on its wanted list, including head of the National Defense and Security Council of Ukraine Alexander Litvinenko, former finance minister of Ukraine Alexander Shlapak, and former governor of the Central Bank of Ukraine Stepan Kubev. Detailed information about these wanted cases has not been disclosed. Russia may have failed in the early stages of hostilities because of mistakes. The U.S. Army released documents showing that Russia may have failed in the early stages of hostilities in Ukraine because it did not adhere to its own military doctrine. The document on Russian tactics in the new command recently published by the U.S. Army shows many details about how Russian soldiers fight according to the country's military doctrine. It also contributes to explaining why Russian forces did not demonstrate high combat performance on the Ukrainian battlefield, especially in the early stages of the conflict. According to the document, Russian military doctrine clearly states that when a division or brigade attacks, assault units and tanks must advance in waves, in close coordination with reconnaissance forces and security units. Flank, engineering, artillery, and air defense. The goal is to hit hard, advance quickly, penetrate the enemy's defense, and penetrate deep into the backline. To minimize enemy resistance, the assault force must divide into several formations to disperse attacking units, both wide and deep, as well as reduce damage from nuclear weapons attacks, enemy personnel, or precision fire. However, in the early stages of hostilities with Ukraine, when Russian forces sought to strike quickly and win quickly on Kiev, they did not comply with this doctrine. Russian armored units gathered into a single attack, advancing in vertical lines down narrow roads toward Kiev. As a result, when encountering obstacles and being ambushed by the enemy, Russian convoys were blocked on the road, becoming targets for Ukrainian artillery, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and anti-tank missiles. This convoy was also stuck for many days because it ran out of fuel, while the supply logistics vehicles were left behind and were easily attacked by Ukrainian forces. Russia's current way of fighting in Ukraine also does not comply with the doctrine that this country proposed. Instead of launching a coordinated lightning attack between the army and air force, Russia is seeking to destroy the Ukrainian defense line with glide bombs, artillery, or sending infantry units with overwhelming numbers to attack enemy positions. Many of the basic elements of Russian military doctrine are solid enough to form the basis for successful operations, but the basic condition is to stick to doctrine, said Scott Boston, a former artillery officer. U.S. soldiers working for the U.S.-based RAND analysis firm commented. According to Boston, methodical attacks can still fail, but departing from the principles set out by Russia and training its forces could be the reason they make many mistakes in the early stages. Hostilities. When not deploying a forward reconnaissance force, the main squad may fall into a passive fighting situation and be at a disadvantage. Doctrine also shows that do not put all your troops on a few routes, nor do you leaving the logistics force in an unprotected situation, Boston said. Those are all the basics. Experts say that Russia's current military doctrine is mainly inherited from the Soviet Army, in which units operate according to the mechanism of the commander controlling everything. The unit commander directs everything, is in charge of the main elements of the combat plan, does not give subordinates the authority to handle situations flexibly or proactively like the U.S. military, Boston said. The Russian Army's reforms after 2008 were expected to create battalion-level tactical groups, BTGs, that are smaller in size and more flexible than the division model. However, this tactic revealed many limitations due to lack of troops and inflexible command structure, causing the Russian army to return to the traditional model and focus more on overwhelming numbers, according to Boston. In addition to not sticking to doctrine, the failure of Russian forces in the early stages of the conflict may also have been due to the overall strategy of the military campaign against Ukraine. With an initial attack force of only about 180,000 troops on a front more than 900 kilometers long, Russia could not overwhelm the smaller Ukrainian army as the doctrine's goal. Russian commanders and leaders, as well as many Western experts and officials, then assumed that Ukraine would soon end its resistance and quickly surrender to Russian forces. Russian assault units did not even receive a briefing on the military operation until the conflict broke out. An inflexible army can still win, but good planning is much more useful, Boston said. This expert said that when attacking Iraq in 2003, U.S. commanders believed that the enemy would not resist strongly, but their battle plans still took this possibility into account and planned to deal with it. Russian units received orders to capture important positions in Ukraine according to a tight timeline, but were not given warning or time to plan for other situations if battlefield developments worsened, Boston said. No, doctrine and training do not help if units are sent on the wrong mission with the wrong equipment. Russia held a launching ceremony for 2 new warships. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported that the Zelenodolsk shipyard held a launching ceremony for the Typhoon missile ship and the Viktor Veliky patrol ship on Tuesday, May 7. The launching ceremony of the Typhoon missile ship of Project 22800 and the patrol ship Viktor Veliky of Project 22160 was held, the Russian Ministry of Defense said. According to the ministry, the ships have received full equipment and weapons. After launching, the ships will conduct some sea trials and then go into use. It is expected that the ships will join the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Navy at the end of 2024. It is known that in April, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said that by the end of 2024, the Black Sea Fleet will receive 3 warships carrying high-precision missiles. The patrol ship Viktor Veliky is the 5th warship of Project 22160. The ship is designed to perform the task of protecting territorial waters and exclusive economic zones, combating smuggling and piracy, and conducting search and rescue activities. Problem: the ship can move at a speed of 30 knots/hour and has a displacement of nearly 1,300 tons. The crew on board includes nearly 80 people. Viktor Veliky is equipped with a 76mm AK-176MA cannon, 8 sets of 9K338 Igla-S manpads, 2 Cord 12.7mm machine guns, and 2 DP 65 55mm small-caliber anti-grenade launchers. In addition, the ship can also carry Ka-27 or Ka-29 helicopters. Meanwhile, the Typhoon missile boat is designed to attack warships and surface boats, as well as repel air attacks. These ships have a displacement of 800 to 900 tons, a speed of 30 knots and a range of 4,000 kilometers. The ship can carry a crew of 40 people. Ships of this class are equipped with the main weapon 3S-14, including 8-caliber cruise missile launch tubes. In addition, the ship can also mount Onyx anti-ship missiles or Zircon hypersonic missiles. Secondary weapons equipped to the ship are a 76.2 mm AK-176MA automatic cannon complex, two 30 mm 6-barrel AK-630M complexes, as well as two 12.7 mm cord machine gun complexes. The ship is also equipped with a naval version of the Panzerarmee anti-aircraft missile and artillery system.